Barbara Walters, welcome to Backstage.
Thank you.
I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because I want to tell you one thing. I would not be here without you, my dear.
That's so nice.
Well, you really are, and I know you downplay the fact that you are a trailblazer, but you are, and I want to thank you.
That makes me feel very good. When I've gone around the country a little bit and people come up to me and say, you know, not just people in television, but you made a difference, I think, that's my reward. That, you know, because when you're doing it, you're not waving banners and saying, I'm doing this for the women or the men of the world, but it really is my reward.
We also love having you here in Brookline because this is your hometown. You were here to the 5th grade?
No, I was not. I was just here my first few years at the Lawrence School in Brookline. Because my father, you see, I'm getting the accent back.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I never totally lost it. Yeah. But my father, when I was quite young, opened a nightclub here called the Latin Quarter, Lou Walters Latin Quarter. There was one in Boston, then there was one in Falmouth, if you can believe it, on Old Silver Beach. I mean,
down at the Cape,
on the Cape, people would come in their bathing suits to watch the Can-Can. And then he opened another nightclub in Florida, the Latin Quarter, and then one in New York. So during most of my childhood, we traveled, and it was on the surface a very glamorous life, and in reality not so wonderful, and I write about that.
Yes, you do. And you also talk about the fact that you, hanging out with a lot of celebrities that came to the Latin Quarter, it sort of took away your fear of interviewing celebrities later in life, which I thought was very interesting.
Well, I think that there are two things, that maybe more than two, but two that made a difference. I grew up watching the different acts working for my father. Frank Sinatra, Sophie Tucker, Milton Berle.
Jimmy Durante. Yeah.
Jimmy Durante. Well, that was a little before my time, but I realized they had problems. I realized they had guilt over not seeing their children so much. I realized that they were real people, and it made a difference then when I was interviewing celebrities, because I have not been in awe of them.
Have you ever been intimidated by someone you've interviewed?
I'm intimidated by a lot in real life. That's why the book is called Audition. But somehow or other, not. I mean, I can interview and have interviewed Muammar Gaddafi. I even asked him, I said, there are people who think you're mad. And after taking a deep breath, I asked this question.
Can I ask you something very directly, which may seem rude? In our country, we read that you are unstable. We read that you are mad. You know that those things have been printed.
You know, I had the courage to that. I had the courage to ask Prime Minister Putin if he ever killed anybody, because he had been in the KGB. Did you ever order anyone killed?
Нет.
I have great confidence when I'm interviewed, but in real life, we're a little different.
I wonder why that is.
But a lot of people are like that, you know. A lot of people have confidence in their private life, and they don't, you know, when they're working. But I think that, I mean, one of the things I wanted to do, by being honest, and I don't know, maybe too honest, was that I thought people could relate to my life, because we all have ups and downs, and I did. And nothing is just smoothly up. And we all have different kinds of partitions in ourselves. So I hope that people could relate to this, and it was not just, and then I interviewed, and then I interviewed, and then I interviewed, and then I interviewed. I didn't want to do that.
When you write about your sister, Jackie, you dedicated the book to her and your daughter.
Jackie.
That's right, the namesake. It really is filled with a lot of pain. You talk about being honest. You were ashamed, you were angry, yet you loved her. You had to take her out on dates with you sometimes because your mother didn't want her left alone or feeling lonely. That's quite a burden for a young woman.
Well, I almost call the book Sister, because my sister was, I think, the most influential person in my life, unwittingly. My sister was 3.5 years older. There are some wonderful photographs in the book, and people can see how pretty she was. She stuttered terribly, and at that time she was called mentally retarded. Today she might have been considered mildly autistic or developmentally disabled, I think sounds better. But people made fun of her, kids made fun of her, and they made fun of me. And there are a lot of things I didn't have, like birthday parties at home, because Jackie didn't have birthday parties.
That broke my heart, reading these
Well,
little things.
so
It means a lot to a child.
It does. So I felt very isolated, and I loved her, and I resented her, and I was filled with guilt, and I write about it because I think that there are so many people who either know someone like this or have something not exactly the same, and they know what it was like. And then later on, I had the full responsibility for my sister. My father, who had everything, we only lived in penthouses when we lived in New York. And then in my 20s, he lost everything. And I was then supporting my mother, my father, my sister, my daughter. I was a single mother then. And my sister gave me compassion, but it also was a mixed feeling about her. And when my daughter was born, I named her Jackie after my sister because I wanted my sister to feel that she had a baby too. And this mixture of emotions, I think people have in different directions. Nothing is that clear-cut. Nothing is that simple. You know, when I did the book, a lot of young women would come up and say, I want to have your life. Well, I mean, so would I. I love my life now. And I said, okay, but then you have to have the whole package. And there's also a lot that's funny. Can I tell you my favorite story?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
My father's parents immigrated from London, England. They had come originally from Russia, then to London, then here. And I wanted this book also to be, to have a history, so that people would know not just what was happening with me, but what was happening in the rest of the world. And my paternal grandmother was very elegant and rather fanciful. And on her deathbed, she said, you know, I'm a virgin. And the grandchildren said, Grandma, you have 7 children, my uncles and aunts. You have 7 children. So you had to be with Grandpa at least 7 times. And she said, but I never participated. So I want people, when they read this book, to participate. Yes.